October 28, 2025, Caribbean Sea, 11:42 a.m. Two Venezuelan F-16 fighter jets lock their weapon systems on a U.S. Navy destroyer. The pilots arm their missiles. Fire control radar illuminates the warship. Then both jets launch. What happens next changed everything between two nations. The USS Jason Dunham, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, was conducting routine patrol operations 60 nautical miles north of the Venezuelan coastline. International waters, standard procedure. The destroyer had been monitoring regional maritime traffic for 3 days without incident. The crew numbered 338 sailors. Most were below deck. The ship's commanding officer, Captain Marcus Reynolds, was reviewing navigation charts in his quarters. In the Combat Information Center, 12 operators monitored their stations. Radar screens displayed dozens of contacts. Commercial shipping vessels, fishing boats, aircraft on civilian flight paths, everything normal. At 11:37 a.m., two new contacts appeared on the AN-SPY-1D radar system. Aircraft. Military signatures, range 95 kilometers. Speed 820 kilometers per hour. Heading, direct intercept course with the USS Jason Dunham. The radar operator, Petty Officer James Chen, immediately flagged the contacts. His screen showed two F-16 Fighting Falcons. Venezuelan Air Force markings confirmed through electronic signature analysis. These jets weren't following standard patrol patterns. They weren't maintaining safe separation distances. They were accelerating, descending. Their flight profile matched only one scenario: attack approach. Chen's hand moved to the intercom switch. Captain to CIC, we have two Venezuelan F-16s inbound. Aggressive posture. Range now 82 kilometers and closing fast. Captain Reynolds reached the Combat Information Center within 40 seconds. He studied the tactical display. The two F-16s had descended to 4,500 meters. Speed increased to 950 kilometers per hour, range 68 kilometers. The Aegis Combat System, the most advanced naval defense network ever built, was already tracking both aircraft. Multiple layers of protection stood ready. Close-in weapon systems. Rolling airframe missiles, evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, SM-2 Standard missiles, and the SM-6. But Reynolds needed to understand intent before taking action. Rules of engagement required positive identification of hostile action. You don't shoot down another nation's aircraft without justification. Communications, hail those aircraft on all military frequencies, Reynolds ordered. Identify our vessel, request their intentions. The communications officer transmitted on multiple channels. Guard frequency, military air-to-ground channels. Emergency frequencies, no response. The F-16s continued their approach. Range 51 kilometers. Their radar signatures changed. Fire control systems activated. The pilots had switched from search mode to targeting mode. Still no communication from the Venezuelan jets. Reynolds felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. 338 sailors under his protection. Billions of dollars in naval technology, international law, diplomatic consequences, all balanced against the next decision he had to make. Weapons-free status, Reynolds said quietly. Prepare to engage on my command. All hands to battle stations. The alarm echoed through every compartment of the destroyer. The USS Jason Dunham transformed in seconds. Watertight doors slammed shut throughout the ship. Damage control teams grabbed their equipment. Gun crews raced to their stations. The mess hall emptied. Personal quarters emptied. Every sailor moved to their combat position. In the Combat Information Center, the atmosphere shifted from routine monitoring to lethal focus. 12 operators became extensions of the Aegis system itself. Hands on controls, eyes on screens, minds calculating angles, velocities, engagement windows. The tactical display showed the geometry of confrontation. Two F-16s converging from the south. The destroyer positioned at the center of multiple overlapping defense zones. Petty Officer Chen watched the tracking data update every half-second. The Venezuelan jets had separated. One braking left, one braking right, classic pincer maneuver. They were setting up for simultaneous attack from different vectors. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate combat tactics. Range 42 kilometers. The weapons officer, Lieutenant Sarah Park, ran final system checks. Green lights across her console. Vertical launch system tubes ready. Missiles armed and initialized. Target acquisition locked. Each F-16 carried two AIM-9L Sidewinder missiles on their wingtip rails. Heat-seeking air-to-air missiles, maximum range 18 kilometers, speed Mach 2. 5. Each missile packed a 9.4 kilogram warhead. These were Cold War-era weapons. The AIM-9L entered service in 1977, nearly 50 years old. But age doesn't mean harmless. These missiles could still kill, could still punch through the side of a ship, could still murder sailors. Sir, both aircraft are maintaining attack profile, Chen reported. They're positioning for missile launch. Range 35 kilometers. Reynolds picked up the handset connecting him directly to the bridge. Bridge, combat. Prepare for evasive maneuvers on my command, all ahead flank speed. But running wasn't the solution. Running might save the USS Jason Dunham today, but it would signal weakness, would invite further aggression. The rules of engagement were clear. A warship has the inherent right to defend itself. When weapon systems lock onto your vessel, when attack patterns develop, when communication attempts fail, you have legal authority to engage. Reynolds had that authority. Range, 29 kilometers. Weapons, prepare SM-6 engagement, Reynolds ordered. 2 missiles, target both aircraft, but hold fire until I give the command. The Venezuelan jets continued their approach. Range, 23 kilometers, then the radar signature changed again. 42-2A. M and 17 seconds. Both F-16s simultaneously activated their missile seeker heads. The AIM-9L sidewinders began tracking. Infrared sensors searched for heat signatures. Chen saw it instantly. Sir, both aircraft have gone to missile lock. He didn't finish the sentence. On the tactical display, 2 bright symbols appeared beside each F-16. Missile launch detection. The Aegis system registered it. The infrared warning systems registered it. Incoming. 4 AIM-9L Sidewinder missiles had just left their rails. 4 contrails arced across the Caribbean sky. 4 guidance systems locked onto the thermal signature of the destroyer's gas turbines. Range, 21 kilometers. Time to impact, 38 seconds. Reynolds didn't hesitate. Engage all inbound missiles. Fire. The response was instantaneous. 2. RIM-116. Rolling airframe missiles launched from the starboard ram launcher. These small interceptors accelerated to Mach 2 in less than 5 seconds. Their infrared seekers immediately acquired the hottest targets in the sky, not the destroyer, but the rocket motors of the incoming sidewinders. 2 more ram interceptors launched 3 seconds later. The USS Jason Dunham's close-in weapon system, the Phalanx CIWS, rotated toward the incoming threat. This was the last line of defense. A 20mm Gatling cannon capable of firing 4,500 rounds per minute. But the ram interceptors reached the sidewinders first. 22 kilometers from the destroyer, the first ram interceptor collided with a sidewinder at a combined closing speed exceeding Mach 4. Both missiles exploded. The warhead detonation created a fireball visible from the destroyer's bridge. 2 seconds later, the second intercept. Another explosion. Another sidewinder destroyed. The third sidewinder attempted evasive maneuvers. Its guidance system detected the incoming ram and tried to jink away. But the ram was smarter, faster, more agile. The interceptor adjusted its trajectory mid-flight and struck the sidewinder head-on. The fourth sidewinder got closer, 12 kilometers from the destroyer, 10 kilometers, 8 kilometers. The Phalanx CIWS opened fire. The sound was like tearing fabric amplified 1,000 times. The radar-guided system calculated intercept solutions 50 times per second. The stream of projectiles formed a cone of destruction in the missile's path. At 6 kilometers, the sidewinder flew into that cone. 20 rounds struck the missile body in less than half a second. The warhead exploded prematurely. Debris rained into the ocean. Total engagement time, 14 seconds. All 4 missiles destroyed. 0 hits on the USS Jason Dunham. The Combat Information Center erupted in controlled chaos. Operators calling out status reports. Systems resetting. New threats being evaluated because the 2 Venezuelan F-16s were still there, still flying, still armed, still on intercept course with the destroyer. Range, 19 kilometers. Chen stared at his screen in disbelief. Sir, the F-16s are not breaking off. They're still inbound, accelerating. This made no sense tactically. The Venezuelan pilots had just watched their missiles get obliterated. They knew, they had to know, that continuing the attack was suicide. Fighter jets versus a modern destroyer wasn't combat. It was execution, but they kept coming. Reynolds understood in that moment what he was dealing with. These pilots had orders: launch missiles, regardless of outcome, regardless of survival. Weapons target both aircraft with SM-6, Reynolds said. Fire when ready. Lieutenant Park entered the firing solution. 2 SM-6 missiles assigned to 2 targets. The vertical launch system cells opened, but before Park could press the firing key, something changed. The Venezuelan F-16s altered course. Both jets broke hard right, maximum thrust, emergency maneuvers. They weren't attacking anymore. They were running. Range increasing. 22 kilometers, 26 kilometers, 31 kilometers. The pilots had finally processed what they faced. They had finally understood that their aging fighters stood no chance against an Aegis destroyer. Survival instinct overrode orders, but then Chen saw something else appear on his radar screen. New contacts bearing 042, 2 aircraft. Fast movers, range 140 kilometers and closing. Reynolds turned to the display. 2 new targets, supersonic speed US Navy A-18E Super Hornets. The USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Strike Group was operating 200 kilometers northeast. When the destroyer transmitted its emergency combat alert, the carrier launched its ready fighters. The Super Hornets had covered 140 kilometers in less than 8 minutes. The geometry changed instantly. The fleeing Venezuelan F-16s now had 2 choices: turn back toward the destroyer, which would destroy them with SM-6 missiles, or continue their current heading, which would put them directly in the engagement envelope of 2 of the most advanced fighter jets on the planet. Reynolds picked up the secure communications handset. Viper lead, this is USS Jason Dunham actual. 2 hostile F-16s bearing 185, range 35 kilometers, fleeing south. They launched on us, requesting your assistance. The response came immediately. Jason Dunham actual, Viper lead copies all. We have radar contact on both bandits. We'll take it from here. The 2 Super Hornets dove from altitude. Their AN/APG-79 ASA radars tracked both F-16s with perfect clarity. Each Super Hornet carried 4 AM-120D AMRAAM missiles. Maximum range 160 kilometers. Speed Mach 4. The Venezuelan pilots never had a chance. What happened next wasn't revenge. It was consequence. The lead Super Hornet, call sign Viper 1, achieved weapons lock at 95 kilometers. The F-16s were still running, still pushing their engines to maximum thrust. Still hoping they could reach Venezuelan airspace. They couldn't. Fox 3, Viper 1 transmitted. The code phrase for an AMRAAM launch. A single AIM-120D missile dropped from the Super Hornet's weapons bay. The rocket motor ignited. The missile accelerated to Mach 4 in 6 seconds. Its active radar guidance locked onto the lead F-16 with electronic precision no pilot could evade. The Venezuelan pilot tried anyway. He deployed chaff, metallic strips designed to confuse radar-guided missiles. He executed a hard brake turn, pulling 9 Gs. He was doing everything right, but the AEM-120D had been designed to defeat exactly these countermeasures. Its radar processor filtered out chaff signatures. Its guidance computer predicted evasive maneuvers. At a range of 8 kilometers, the missile's proximity fuse detected the target. The 18-kilogram fragmentation warhead detonated. Thousands of tungsten fragments expanded in a spherical pattern. The F-16 flew directly into that expanding cloud of supersonic metal. The fighter jet disintegrated. 1 second it was an aircraft. The next second it was debris falling toward the Caribbean Sea. The pilot never had time to eject. The destruction was instantaneous. Viper 2 engaged the second F-16 18 seconds later. Another AMRAAM launch? Another perfect intercept. Another Venezuelan fighter transformed into wreckage. Total engagement time from Super Hornet missile launch to target destruction: 41 seconds. The USS Jason Dunham's radar screens showed the results. 2 targets transformed into multiple small contacts. Pieces of aircraft. Pieces of missiles. All falling through 4,000 meters of altitude toward the ocean below. In the Combat Information Center, nobody celebrated. Nobody cheered. This wasn't a victory. This was a tragedy that could have been prevented. Captain Reynolds stood at the tactical display. His mind was already moving to the next phase. The engagement report. The diplomatic notifications. The investigation. Communications. Prepare a flash message to U.S. Southern Command. Reynolds ordered. USS Jason Dunham engaged by 2 Venezuelan F-16 aircraft in international waters. Hostile fire received. 4 missiles launched at our vessel. All missiles intercepted. Both attacking aircraft destroyed. No damage to U.S. vessel. No U.S. casualties. The message transmitted within 2 minutes. It reached the Pentagon 4 minutes later. It reached the White House 6 minutes after that. And then it reached the international news media, because when a U.S. Navy destroyer destroys 2 fighter jets from another nation, the world pays attention. Within 3 hours, every military in the Western Hemisphere was on alert. The Venezuelan government issued an immediate statement, claiming the F-16s had been conducting routine patrol operations and had been attacked without provocation by U.S. forces. They demanded an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council. They called it an act of war. The United States released the radar data every second of the engagement. Every missile launch, every intercept, every communication attempt. The data showed exactly what happened. 2 Venezuelan aircraft approaching a U.S. destroyer. Multiple attempts at radio communication ignored. Weapons lock established. Missiles launched. U.S. defensive response. The evidence was irrefutable. 30 minutes after the U.S. released the data, Venezuela changed its story. Now they claimed the pilots had made an error. The next video covers what happened when a submarine disappeared in the Arctic.